Hi, Tony DeWitt here, Missouri appellate attorney, retired, and somebody who likes to make the law make sense on YouTube. So if you're interested in an interesting discussion today, stay tuned. Well, I have to start with an apology today because I have not been able to get to my normal video production schedule as I would like because I had a hard drive failure. Uh, Almost everything that I use for doing video in terms of files and resources died on a hard drive. So I had some of that stuff backed up and I was able to put together another hard drive that I can use, but I'll tell you, when that kind of thing happens, it really throws you behind the power curve. And then the second thing that happened is my wife at her pediatric practice, at her daughter's pediatric practice where she works, they've expanded. They've opened up the other side of the building and they wanted to paint her office, which has 12-foot ceilings, and she wanted it painted in this pinkish purple color that I swear looked more like Pepto-Bismol than anything I've ever seen in my life. So I spent the better part of Saturday and almost all day Sunday painting that office. And I came home looking like I had been attacked by, well, I really looked like a Pepto-Bismol salesman whose sample case had exploded on him. But most of the pink is gone. I think there's probably still a few pink little dots on me someplace, but I'm through with that, and now I'm looking at trying to catch up. And the first thing I wanted to catch up on here was the Sarah Boone trial. So without going into a lot of the video up front, let me just tell you, I thought the openings were competent by the prosecution in that I think they did everything they needed to do. I don't think the opening was particularly riveting. I don't think it was, oratorical in the way that a good opening ought to be, but I thought it was competent. And really, that's the best thing you can hope for, is that somebody hits all of the high points and then moves on. The defense opening, because of the load that he has to carry, I thought fell really pretty flat. The first couple of witnesses that got put on were roommates who lived next door to Sarah and George during at least part of the time that there were issues there. And pay attention to this questioning because I think it illustrates a little bit both of the prosecution's case in chief as well as the defense's case in chief. So take a listen.
And when she approached you on this late evening / early morning on that day, what did she tell you?
Pretty much just kind of like, if I do hear anything, like through the walls or whatever, just out back, just kind of keep my mouth shut. Like, don't really speak about it or anything like that or say anything to anyone. And I just was like, okay.
Did she make any motions with her hands?
Yeah, like just kind of like, finger over the lips, like kind of shh, like keep it hush, like that kind of thing.
So she told you not to record anything you may have heard about arguments or yelling or fighting, anything going on over there?
Yeah.
Do you recall the evening of February 23rd, 2020?
I do, yeah.
And what about that evening sticks out to you?
That sticks out to me from that night was literally just there was a very, very loud noise that I heard that was loud and powerful enough to shake my bedroom wall. And I remember that because I was sitting on my bed on FaceTime with my girlfriend at the time, and I literally felt the wall shake and it stopped me mid-conversation. And she even asked me through the computer, like, what was that? And I was like, I have no idea.
Did you hear any yelling coming from their apartment on that night?
Before that, yeah, like it was just arguing kind of stuff.
What was the last thing you heard?
The last thing I heard was like the loud noise and just a little bit of shuffling, and that was kind of it.
Now, Vincent, I think you had testified, you may have given a statement to law enforcement,
Yes, it was one of the detectives.
a recorded statement.
Yes, I can't remember his name, but yes.
Okay, and I think it was on February 23rd of 2020.
Yeah, right around that time, yeah.
I believe you had said that,
I'm going to object this to improper impeachment.
approach. Say on that date you got home around 7 p.m.
7 p.m.?
Yes.
Which day was this?
Sunday, February 23rd, 2020.
No, that day I actually got home from work probably around 1 or 2 o'clock or so.
In the morning?
No, in the afternoon. Because I went to work that morning at around 5 a.m.
And you said that you heard the normal yelling and arguing at about that time when you got home?
No, well, yeah, it was around that time, but it was really around like 10 o'clock, 10:30 is when like the arguing I could right hear clearly. It was like around 10:30 at night.
Okay.
And now this one.
Do you recall the evening of February 23rd, 2020?
Yes, sir.
And on that evening, could you hear arguing going on in their unit?
Not late into the evening, earlier into the evening, probably like 7, 8 o'clock. That evening, probably earlier on, I could hear arguing.
And where were you inside of your apartment?
I would have been in my bedroom pretty much all night.
And your bedroom, just so that we can paint the picture, where would that would it have been on the first floor or the second floor?
We had a first floor apartment.
Okay, so all the units were, or all the bedrooms were on the first floor.
Yeah, like I was saying before, we had a 1-story apartment, and then they next door had like a 2-story townhouse. So we only had the 1 floor.
Understood. And at a certain point in the evening, did you hear a loud crashing sound?
Yeah, probably around 10:30, 11 o'clock that evening.
And can you describe that sound for us in more detail?
I mean, yeah, at literally, like I said, at like 10:30, 11 o'clock, it's the way their staircase was set up. I could my bedroom, the top of their staircase would have been like above my ceiling, and then it ends next to where like my roommate's apartment was. So I could hear something start above me super loud and then fall away from me like it was falling down the stairs.
Did this affect the walls that were between your two apartments?
Oh yeah, me and my roommate, I remember me and my roommate talking the next day about like we could literally like it shook both of our rooms.
Did you ever have occasion to talk with the defendant about what happened?
I never saw her after that. She would have, I never saw her after that happened.
Now, I believe, and I just want to make sure that I heard you. You said that the first arguments, other than the boom, which was like 10 something, initially it was around 7 p.m. You heard arguing?
It would have, yeah, because it would have been, I remember that day I got home from class around 5, because I got out of class around 4:30 usually and walked home. So I would have gotten home around 5:30. And it would have been after because I came home, I made myself lunch and I took a shower and then I heard all of their arguing. So it would have been about an hour and a half, 2 hours after I got home. So around 7 to 8 o'clock.
Okay. And during that time, when you say arguing, was it back and forth?
I honestly, I wouldn't really be able to say if it was back and forth. I don't know I wouldn't remember too vividly if it was back and forth.
Well, let me ask you this: Did you
Yeah.
hear a male voice?
Yes, I heard a male voice.
Did you hear a female voice?
Yes.
Okay. Were they both loud?
Yes.
Okay. It is fairly clear from those cuts that what the defense wants to do is, and of course it's clear from the opening statement too, that the defense wants to bring up this battered spouse syndrome. So, battered spouse is supposed to be a sort of a subset, or maybe even a superset, of self defense. You have somebody who is in a vulnerable position, uh, the weaker sex, so to speak. Um, they've been abused, they've been beaten, they've been neglected. There's some kind of history there. And finally, they just can't take it anymore. So they fight back and they go a little bit overboard on the degree of force. That is the sum and substance of the self defense in a battered spouse type of case. In this particular case, the defense has a really big problem. One of the things that dominates in any self-defense case is the degree of immediacy of the problem. So, for example, if someone who is in a walker has a butcher knife and they're threatening to come after you, and you happen to be an Olympic track star who could run away in the other direction, assuming you weren't laughing too hard, that kind of thing, that's not a self-defense situation. That's a crazy old person with a knife who's going to have to drop it at some point in order to control the walker. It isn't a situation where you can legitimately claim self-defense. And similarly, in this instance with Sarah Boone, it's difficult to see how self-defense fits for a couple of reasons. You can look forward in the closing argument to the prosecution pointing out that Sarah did not have any bruises, she didn't have any cuts, she didn't have any ligature marks, she didn't say that she had been slapped. All of her effort went into weaving this story about, oh, we were playing hide and go seek and I was drunk, I fell asleep. It's a tragic accident. Well, obviously the police think it was not a tragic accident. Part of the reason they think that is because they interviewed two people like the two people that were testifying there. And they know that there was a history, they know that there was some degree of bad blood. And so self-defense looks at, in some respects, intentionality, meaning that the person who invokes self-defense has to be blameless. They have to be not the aggressor in the situation. They have to be the person who was in fear for their life. Now, Owens does offer in his opening statement a little bit of a preview of how he might get around this whole immediate threat kind of problem. Let's take a listen.
Now you're going to hear some testimony. There's been mention of experts. Battered women's experiences affect her perception of imminent danger. Battered women's experiences affect her perception of imminent danger. Victims of repeat violence may fear death in a situation others would not.
Now, I think that's pretty weak sauce. I think you have to have a lot more than, because I'm a battered spouse, I feared something when the guy I was supposedly in fear of is zipped in a suitcase. The problem isn't that she zipped him in the suitcase, because he let her do that. That was consensual. But what she didn't do was let him out of the suitcase, which was intentional on her part, and he was begging to be released. This is one of those things that I just think he is so focused on the technical elements of the defense that he's missing the forest for the trees. a guy zipped in a suitcase is not an immediate deadly threat. And suggesting that he is just strains your credulity completely. So that's what I have for you today. I thought you might enjoy that little insight. If you have the opportunity today, go out of your way, do something nice for somebody, and then come on back down here tomorrow, join me at the beach, and in between those two things, if you can think of a question or a suggestion or anything else that you want to provide, drop them in the comments down below or email me at the address above. Thanks again for being here. See you next time. I shouldn't have to say this, but you don't seek legal advice from a guy down at the beach. You seek it from a lawyer in a lawyer's office, where there are people running around in suits and secretaries and all kinds of other people. I'm just a YouTuber. I'm a retired attorney at this point, and although I retain my license to practice in the state of Missouri, I am not here dispensing legal advice. I'm just offering general content on the law. So please don't take anything I say here as legal advice, and if you need legal advice, see a lawyer in your jurisdiction. And here are some videos that YouTube thinks you may enjoy.